Welcome everyone to this AMA, which is dedicated to rewards and staking. So the agenda. So first I'll talk a little bit about the pre-mainnet rewards. So this is up to the token generation event. And then for the majority of the time, we'll be talking about the reward model and the delegated staking model. So this is a 10-year reward or scheme system or subsidy for the bootstrapping the entire network. And then we'll talk about community staking, which is basically a marketplace that makes it simple to do exactly this, to delegate the staking. And finally, talk about the timing and the implementation of these different features. So let's hop into it. So to begin with, I just want to emphasize here that what we're talking about now is the token ecosystem token, or it's half of them, and it's all about bootstrapping the network. The real value is, of course, the BYOC, the feed economy, that comes from the real operation of the network, solving real problems. However, for this ecosystem is all about getting to that point and make sure that we have a sufficient sort of network for bootstrapping the network. So it's, as you can see here, we're talking about the 20% of the total token in the network, which is and half of that is carved out for bootstrapping a node operation. So that's a topic for today, and we look at the pre-mainnet and the mainnet before and after TGE at the end of November. So that's the context, and let's hop into the first topic, which is the pre-mainnet rewards. So this is the model that we announced in January 2022. We are going to deviate a little bit from this, but everyone will be treated fairly. And the reason for that is on this slide. So what we did in this period before the TGE was that we really had everything up in the air. We relaunched the entire network. We generated new Genesis blocks. So this was a very special period where we could test everything basically, and we tried to do that. So it was also a bit tough to operate a node and to have high performance. So that's one of the reasons. And then we had, for some of these Genesis blocks, don't have complete data that could allow us to reconstruct enough information to do the performance-based measures. So that's basically what we are taking out. So now there's no adjustment for how many blocks each of the nodes has been produced in these different periods. So it's just 1% of the staked MPC token with a maximum of 5,000 tokens per month. So if you have been, I don't know how many months it is, 4 or 5 months. So if you have been having more than, if you are more than eligible for more than 5,000 tokens, it's more than 20,000 tokens for this pre-mainnet period. So what we're doing here, and what you can see down here, is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Genesis blocks, or 4 test Genesis blocks, and then we have the token generation block. So and we have in each of these periods, we have a number of nodes. So this is the information that is absolutely certain, and we're going to base the reward scheme on this very certain information, which is the 64 nodes in the first blocks, the 73 in the second block, etc. So, and we have nodes coming in during these periods. So what we're basically going to do here is to take the list of the 73 nodes for the first period, the first 56 days, and reward them according to the staked MPC tokens in that period. And then we're going to do the exact same for the next period. So more nodes is being introduced in that period, and we are then taking the 91 nodes at the end of that period and using that list of nodes for the rewards. And we do the same for the last period. So you can see that we are maxing every time we make a choice here. Take the largest number of nodes take the assume that everyone is performing equally well, etc. And we also do that for the last period. So here, unlike the other periods, the number of nodes drops, and it drops because we had introduced more tough requirements for TGE. So this is where we have the full MPC solution where every node needs to participate in producing a signature material in order to become a node operator. So that's a stronger requirement for operating a node. So that's so here we are actually using the 103 at the beginning of the final period as a list of nodes that is getting the pre-mainnet rewards. So a lot simpler allocation model, and at the end we have something like 800,000 nodes, and these nodes are going to be rewarded on a 2-year with quarterly unlock with by the end of November 2022, so aligned with the rest of the unlock, and being implemented. We will implement this by the end of October. So that's the simplified pre-mainnet, and we have, as you can see, we are diving into all the numbers, and this is will be implemented as soon as we're done with the internal audit of this. Very good. So with that, we'll move on to the majority of the 10% of the ecosystem pool, which is in 99.2 million tokens, and discuss the principle for how to allocate these tokens for bootstrapping the network. So just a few words about the overall objective. So it's all about establishing this token economy. So we need to bring in resources from all the stakeholders, node operators, developers, team, users, etc. And then we need to work on this is all about bootstrapping real on-chain utility, and on-chain utility is the actual problems that the network solves. So we talk about the basic transactions solved by beta nodes. We're talking about the privacy-preserving computation solved by the CK nodes, and we are talking about the interoperability and the bridging, which is the Oracle nodes. And more jobs is coming as we move along. So this is really what we're talking about here, bootstrapping this basic node operation with the ecosystem pool. And we'll come back to that. This is really the tool for this is the delegated staking, which is about to be implemented in the so-called MPC Explore. And it's the community staking, which is the marketplace that I will talk about at the end here. So that's the sort of the overall objectives for this. And these are the principles used for allocating the ecosystem pool. So we want, there's 2 steps, I'll get back to that, but the overall principle is predictability. We need a long run scheme. So we want this 10-year scheme for support. And we want to aim this at the unlocked tokens. So this is the tokens that could be traded freely in the network, and that's basically where we want to address these subsidies to better sustain the whole network, the whole MPC token network. And of course, we need to find the right balance between the present and the future. So right now here in where we are today, there's less activity than there will be in the future, clearly. And of course, we don't want a system that has free riding opportunities. So there will be some performance measures built into this. So the 2 steps is really to take all of these tokens, put them into 40 different buckets. So the number of tokens then is a fixed number based on this way of distributing, and I'll get back to that. And then you basically compete around the distribution of these tokens, and that is the number 2 step. So the principle for how many tokens you put into each of these 40 buckets is to focus on the unlocked tokens. So in the beginning, there's less unlocked than when we move along. So you adjust for that, and you also adjust for time. So relatively more today than in the future. For individual incentives and performances, it's really all about that. If you stake more, you get more reward. If there's a less utilization, if others stake less, basically, you also get more. So there will be an incentive when people move out. There's a higher incentive to move in, and then there will be an incentive to focus on delegating to the most efficient node. I will come back to how this actually works. And this is also where the market for trust comes in, that we have all the node operator, all the token holders basically assessing the entire network, moving these tokens into the most efficient nodes. A very powerful tool. So this is the first step, which was about putting these tokens into the 40 different buckets. Here we have these buckets with MPC tokens. Down here at the bottom, we have a timeline. So we talked about the pre-mainnet, so that's prior to the TTE, and then we have the first period here until the first unlock, which is the end of November. What we're doing there is basically to mimic the first unlock, which is coming there in period 3. So, and then we start to unlock, and you can see as we unlock tokens, more and more tokens comes into this reward scheme. So, but you can also see that it's sort of the increase is dropping. And then when we are here at the end of the last unlock, the number of tokens drop over time. So these this reflects the two tools, which is the adjusting for the number of unlocked in the tokens in the economy, and adjusting for time. So present works more than future in this sense. So this is another illustration of these two principles. So here we have the first principle up here is the reward tokens relative to the unlock. So in the beginning we have down here on time measured in quarters, and we have tokens rewarded per quarter, and now we are adjusting this for the tokens unlocked up here in the first part. The second part is about adjusting for time, and one way to do that would be to consider interest rate as a measure of time. So this is a interest rate that is then higher in the beginning than it is at the end of this period, and then you do a relative measure on this and adjust the size of these 40 buckets relative to time, basically. So you are rewarded more tokens today than in the future. All right, with that, we can assess this and interpret this as a percentage that you get in terms of tokens relative to the utilization of the entire pool of tokens. So the first here and down here again we have the same timeline. So we are now talking about the 40 quarters, and what we have here is that if there is 100% utilization, which means that all of the token in the economy has been moved now and we delegated into staking. Staking is what you do in this network. And stake, you empower the nodes, so the node can run all these jobs with the bridging and the zero knowledge computation, all that. That's what we are bootstrapping here, and here with everyone participating in this. So this is clearly unlikely. I think some of the highest utilizations is in the industry is probably 80% or something along that line. So we wouldn't expect 100%. Maybe if we get it to a 50%, which is a good number, might even be lower or higher. Who knows? This is what we will see. This is what the yeah, whatever the market realize, you will have a basically an adjustment of the percentage here, the APY. So clearly, you also see here the effect that if less is participating, you have lower utilization utilization of the entire network, and you have a higher gain by start delegating tokens. That's exactly the effect that we want. So that's the step one, and some measures on that. Then the second part is the incentive and the performance. So if we go back, we have each of these 40 buckets. So now we're talking about how to actually distribute the tokens that sits in each of these buckets. So we're talking about we're talking about eligible tokens, and eligible tokens is staked and unlocked tokens. So we need to delegate the tokens to nodes, and then we have need to find out how many of the delegated tokens is actually unlocked. So here the one issue is that we don't know for each token whether that is a locked or an unlocked token. But what we do know is that they are sitting in an account with a given number of unlocked tokens. So that we can use to say, okay, if you delegate tokens, then there's the same fraction of unlocked token among the delegated nodes as you have in your user account. That's what we're using here. Then there will be an adjustment for the relative performance. The quality and also for the relative performance of the nodes, and we're going to measure that in number of blocks produced. And you know, all the nodes is the way that the consensus model works is that we are sending this task of being the sequencer in the network that is sent around among all the nodes. So all the nodes, no matter where you are in the network, will have the chance to become or will become the sequencer. So there's no discrimination on the nodes, how many they should be able to produce of blocks. All right, and that's also, so what we also want to do, and probably get a little bit back to this, so is that when we have these this sort of subsidy scheme or these rewards, is that we have the opportunity to also address weaknesses in the network. So it's all about bootstrapping a network. So there might be certain, and we know for sure there are certain parts of the network where there could be where there is a potential for a lot of node operators, but right now there's few, and you could sort of incentivize a network in weaker parts of the existing network, because that the more nodes you have in your part of the network, the stronger you have, the more you participate in the consensus protocol and signing off on finalization proof and all that stuff. So and it is good for everyone to have these strong networks to make it as strong as possible. So that's another thing that we will adjust as we move along. All right, so then these properties, I think it's actually a bit easier to look at the next slide with some examples on how this could work. So now we have a very simple network. So we only have two nodes and we only have two token holders. And then I'll sort of describe how this reward scheme works with this very simple, or the simplest possible network. So in the beginning here, in example one, we have that token holder A is delegating 200 to node A, and we also have that token holder 2 is delegating 250 to node A. And so what we have here is that we need to find the eligible number of tokens, and that is the to look at the token holder 1's user account. We know that there's 50% of the tokens that is unlocked. So how we get to the eligible tokens is to take 50% of the 200. And likewise for token holder 2, we take the here in this case we have 40% unlocked. So now it's 40% of the 250. It's also 100. So here we also have 100 eligible tokens. And now with these numbers, we have a way to find out how to distribute what was sitting in that bucket. And here we say that there's 100 tokens that is used to be that is used for reward in this period. Among these two token holders here. So we have that. It's simply distributed according to the eligible tokens. So we have 200 eligible tokens and 100 for each of them. So it's 50-50. All right, so that's one example, and we can look at another example of this, another scenario. So here again, we assume that we have that the nodes are equally good. Third scenario, we'll look at the different performance of node operators, but here they are equally good than the nodes, node A and node B. So what we're doing here is a look at another scenario where they stake more. So now token holder A is also staking 300 to node B, and token holder 2 is staking 152 to node B. So that gives them some extra eligible tokens. So the 300 with the 50% unlocked token is 150 extra. The 150 extra from token holder 2 with the 40% unlocked is 60% extra eligible tokens. So now we have a total of 410 eligible tokens, and we use that and we use the distribution of these eligible tokens among the two token holders to as a distribution key, or as a way to distribute the tokens. So, and the number of tokens we are distributing is still the 100. So here we can see that now the token holder 1 is getting more of the 100 tokens relative to number 2, simply because we have more staked by token holder 1. So altogether 500, whereas 400 for the other token holder 2. All right, so that's straightforward. Then the last thing is to adjust for the performance. So now we have that node A and node B are not equally good. So in fact, we have that node A is producing 1,000 block and node B is producing 2,000 block. So we have that we need to adjust. We want to adjust for this. So now it really depends on which node and how much you allocate to each of these nodes, because they have different performance. So here we have that we are adjusting for relative for the nodes total blocks produced, 3,000 in total, 1,000 for A, and 2,000 for node B, and we use that to adjust for the eligible tokens, adjust token holder 1's eligible tokens. And we do the same for token holder 2, adjust his eligible token relative to the performance of the nodes that he delegated his token to. And now we're using these adjusted eligible tokens, eligible token adjusted for the actual relative performance of the nodes. We're using that as a way to distribute the 100 tokens. And we see now that token holder 1 is getting even more. And why is that? So we have that token node B is relatively more efficient than A, it's producing more blocks. And since token holder 1 is delegating relatively more to node B as relative to what token holder 2 is, was delegating relatively more to node A. So token holder 1 was lucky here, or had some insight in how which one is the most efficient, and received more. When that insight, and that is the market for trust that kicks in here, when that insights become an integrated part of the market, we see that the more efficient nodes you have, the more tokens you will be delegated, and the more powerful you become in the network, etc. All right, that is the way that the tokens is going to be, the rewards token, the ecosystem token is going to be delegated among the token holders that delegate tokens. the last part, or second largest part here is the community staking, which is really a marketplace for how to facilitate the moving around, the delegating of the tokens. So what we have here, this is a demand and supply. And we have that the nodes, they demand delegated tokens, and we have the token holders that supply delegated tokens. So we have some another restriction that comes in here. First, or a number of restrictions. First of all, everyone participate default in this market. So they are in there. If you're a node operator, you participate in this. Then there is a max of 5 million tokens per node, which is set to ensure that we don't have too much concentration. It's all about bootstrapping a decentralized network. So with 5 million, there can be no less than 200 nodes that is utilizing the entire supply of tokens. And you might have, we have token holders that is sitting with way more than 500 tokens. And then you basically have these node holders helping the rest of the network getting tokens. And the more efficient nodes, the more efficient you are as a node, the more tokens you can get, the more powerful you can become. So again, the market for trust kicks in here. So the demand is basically given by the whatever you have left. If you already have 5 million, then there's a zero demand. If you have less tokens staked in the node account, then there is a positive demand for delegated tokens. So that's basically what it says here with this max function. Yes. So we basically have now a list of these nodes, and you come in as a token holder supplying delegated tokens. You look at that list, you delegate your tokens to the different nodes, and there's of course a principle for how to prioritize. So this is just first in, first served, and it's the principle, what is the basic functionality is what is known as delegated staking. So the seller select a node, then the node accept that delegation, and you are done. So that is what we want to facilitate with community staking, this exact market for delegated tokens. This illustration from before, just want to add in some more stuff here. So now we, of course, you have the full market, way more than 4 nodes, and a lot more than 4 token holders, but sufficient to get the point here. Yeah, that's basically it. The token holders come in, they get prioritized. So here we had token holder 1 came in first, and that person or node operator, token holder delegated the tokens to different node operators, and the next is coming in and doing the same, basically. Selecting nodes, and the nodes are accepting the delegation, and it's done. So that's basically what the community staking, the marketplace for staking, is all about. And that will be available by before the first unlock of the tokens. All right. Yeah, the last part here is that, again, it's pointing back to the market for trust. So it's something that is an evolutionary part of the entire network. So we have the way that fees are distributed today is also performance-based, and we'll have this relative performance where in order to get these basic fees, you have to report about the activities in the peer-to-peer network, and that can be used. That is used for the trust score, and you also have users coming in selecting nodes to run jobs, and that is also a part of the trust score, and it will be extended as we move along. So clearly here in the beginning, that we don't have that sort of metrics to really produce good trust scores, but that will come as we evolve. But what we do have is that we'll use that in this market for trust. We do have measures for a number of blocks produced. So as you saw in the example before, there is really a sort of a game on how to delegate to the more efficient nodes. So we will have that in place, the part of the market for trust already in the beginning when we launch the community staking. With that, we have talked about the pre-mainnet. We talked about the allocation of the remaining part of the 10% of the token ecosystem, and this is the roadmap for the timing and implementation of these features. So just take that from the beginning here. We have pre-mainnet done by the end of October. We have delegated staking, which is implemented in the basic network. This is about to be implemented in the MPC Explorer. So this is a basic functionality where we are solving basically a security or reducing solving a security problem by keeping the nodes or the tokens in the account while used as stakes in a node account. And that operation requires an accept reject of the delegation by the nodes. So that is going to be implemented as soon as possible in the MPC Explorer. And then we have the mainnet reward implementation. So this is the model that we presented. We have a certainty around the number of tokens that is allocated to each of these buckets, each of the 40 quarters, and there will be an adjustment of the performance and so on. So that is basically and the rewards will be done off chain, and it's done so because we want to make sure that we get this right. We also need some degrees of freedom to adjust. Maybe adjust for some of the things that we briefly mentioned, like the topology of the network. Maybe we need to use part of this to subsidize certain part of the network to make that to incentivize more nodes coming into these more weaker parts of the network, etc. But as much predictability as possible, that's the goal here, and then have some degrees of freedom to adjust along the way. So it is off-chain that we collect all the data, all the on-chain measures. So it's completely transparent for everyone what the data is, and the model is completely transparent. And it's completely transparent how many tokens you have in each of these buckets. So everyone can sort of look back and recompute if anything is should not be correct. That's part of this. So it's not a risk of doing this this way. It's just a way of introducing some flexibility. Later on, we'll have this automated and done automatically by smart contracts. So since this is done manually, we also need a little bit of time here to execute it. So we have a quarter, and then at the end of a quarter, we measure the performance. We do the distribution, compute the distribution, and implement it within a month after a given quarter. All right, so that is the implementation. And the last part is the community stake and the market that will make it simple to do this delegated staking. Then, if we look further down the roadmap, there is functionalities that will be introduced. I mentioned the thing about automated rewarding at some point when we are absolutely sure that this is the way the remaining part of the tokens is distributed. We can put that in smart contracts and have it all run automatically. There is here in the first place, we have chosen to do a simple split between how fees are distributed and how rewards or how fees and rewards are shared in the network. So we have that when you delegate these tokens, then sorry, I should put it differently. The first part is that when you run a node, then the fee that you receive is received by the node operators. So there's no sharing of the fees for operating a node. But on the other hand, all the rewards is giving to the token holders that delegate the tokens. So here there is a split, so 100% to node operators for fees and 100% of the rewards to token holders. When we move along, we have applications on the network, we have a higher share of fees, and the rewards is also dropping as they do over time. There will be implemented a split between these two, and as a way of bootstrapping the basic BYOC fee token economy. So we'll work Delegate with that during the first years of the network. Yes, and then the third part here is actually an example of solving a problem and creating another one. So we solve a security problem. You don't have to delegate. You just have your tokens in your account and then stake them directly from your account. However, we also need to, or we would like to have a very strong measures, a proof of the entity or person that is operating a node, how much skin in the game do that person or node have. So we want to have these measures of what is actually delegated to a node operator. So that's what we are trying to find a good model for creating that proof of stakes by the node operator. The last part is the thing that is talked about a couple of times, where we want to make sure that we have the degrees of freedom to use some of these tokens to bootstrap the network the right way, maybe help weak parts of the network to be established. All right. So that's basically it. Yeah, the last part here is just to emphasize the main objective, which is to bootstrap the BYOC token economy. Because when we move further down the road, a couple of years, we have a lot of activities on the network, and the BYOC fees become the driver of the entire economy. And we have that the rewards is also dropping as we move along. So this is the Delegate sort of transition towards the BYOC fee-driven economy. It's not my role to sort of try to do projections or anything, but this is some kind of examples of how that could look like. So here at the top, we have the blue, which is the expected tokens, unlocked tokens in the economy. And we have the time here in years. So we have that the rewards is giving to all of the unlocked tokens in the economy. So all of these tokens that we have here on the blue chart is giving rewards. Then we have that the activities in the network is coming in, and I have different ideas on how much is coming in. It could be way more, this could be less, who knows? This is we're working for this to be way more. These are examples. So these numbers are then number of MPC tokens used to bootstrap that expected operation in running Baker nodes, in running CK nodes, in running Oracle nodes. And this is 3 different scenarios for that. So it's just to again sort of emphasize that this is all about the bootstrapping and towards a BYOC fee token economy. And with that, we are ready to have some questions, take some questions. And I don't know, Julia, will you run that part?
Sure. There is 2 questions actually posted that were left unanswered because I think they are very interesting for everybody. Will a node operator be able to delegate tokens to himself?
Yes. So that's the basic problem that we solve. So all stakes is delegated stakes. So we're moving the entire security model around staking to delegated staking. And that is what we are implementing with in the MPC Expo. It's already in Mainnet. So yes.
And will locked tokens be able to get staked?
Yes. So all tokens can be staked, and that was if you look at these examples that I went through. In order for us to capture what is then unlocked, is to use the fraction of unlocked in the account, the token holder's account. So yes.
Okay. How will the three different kind of nodes differ in their fee reward structure?
Yes, so that's definitely what we are coming back to. This is described in the yellow paper and all that. This is the basic BYOC fee model and economy. So here today, it's been all about the implementing the bootstrapping. How are we going to use the ecosystem from the Partisia Blockchain Foundation's point of view? What are we going to do this? So this is about creating insight, transparency around this. So the fee economy is you can read it in the yellow paper, and we have examples of how to do this. So there's a number of, depending on whether you are doing what we call basic blockchain operation. So that's kind of the consensus layer. And then whether you're doing these specialized services like CK computation or Oracle services, running bridges, or maybe data Oracle, there is different fees for the different operations. And it really comes down what is then the collective fees paid for a certain job, but that really depends on what you're doing. So it's a very generic network that we have here. So you can go in, you can do any type of public and private coordination, and that's going to use different resources in the network. So it's very much like going into a cloud service and buy storage, computing cycles, or a network. Yes, I think that's the answer there.
Okay. Is there a specific date targeted for the community staking to go online?
For community staking, yes, so community staking was the marketplace where when you can easily sort of facilitate this transition, and we have for now we have the end of the first unlock as our deadline for this. So the end of November.
Okay, I think that's it. Sorry, a new question came in. Would it be possible at some point to stake only the unlocked tokens in a token holder account?
Yes, so the thing is that when you look at a token, there's no information whether that token is locked or unlocked. This is something to do with the account where you hold all your MPC tokens. It's a homogeneous commodity, these tokens. So any one MPC token can be substituted with any other MPC tokens. So what comes with this unlock is a functionality that enables us to bootstrap the economy by unlocking a certain fraction over time. So it's not a property of the individual tokens, it's a property of the account for the individual users or token buyers. So in that sense, no and yes, at some point everything is unlocked, and then yes, but right now, no, we have the information about how many are unlocked. It's sitting in the account, and we're using that to capture the number of unlocked tokens.
Okay. Another question, is there any plan for institutional staking like P2P, and how does it work?
Institutional staking.
We're speaking with we're speaking with P2P on how to do this. The one thing about our chain is we have the proof of trust, and we ensure that each node is not related to other nodes. The reason we do this is that we can't get into a Coinbase merge situation. where Coinbase and Binance and one other company control over 51% of the ETH nodes. That's why we have this external verification network. It's not so that we can KYC everyone forever. It's a third party. The point of it is just to ensure there's not a collusion of a bunch of nodes that are all one large entity gobbling up a huge percent of the network. So because of that model, it makes it more difficult for someone like p2p.org to just run a ton of nodes for people, because we need to have them each verified. They don't belong to others, but then if the p2p has all the keys and runs all the nodes, then it kind of defeats the purpose of the program. We're trying to maintain decentralization with this feature. But there is ways to do it. And so we're working closely with them on how to make it work. So yeah, there's definitely going to be a way in the long run. Someone in the Discord was, I wanted to jump in also because someone in the Discord was talking about, they were a bit confused on what the eligible tokens, uneligible means. So I just want to clarify and try to put it in a bit of simpler terms. Essentially, there were two ways to model this. You could do a rewards program on all tokens that were staked or only the unlocked tokens. It ends up being the same amount of rewards. If you're giving away, 2 million tokens as rewards, it would either just be at a lower rate to total network staked of all tokens locked or unlocked, but it's still that amount of tokens. Or if you're just doing it to the unlocked tokens, it's just a higher reward percentage against those unlocked tokens. So the result is kind of the same, but the incentive ends up being better with the unlocked token model, because that means there's a better utility for the newcomers to the market. And that's who we need to attract to make the project successful, as newcomers to the market. We know about our own project, but we're going to need to grow the ecosystem and get a lot of new token holders. So that's why only the unlocked tokens, yield the rewards. It ends up being the same amount of tokens in the end. So if you already have a lot of tokens, you're going to have more of the unlocked tokens in the first quarter to apply towards the nodes. And then someone asked about, well, if I have 500K tokens and that's all I can do, why would I, what do I do with the rest of the tokens? Well, that's why we did the delegated staking, so that you can delegate also to other nodes in the system and not just stuff all your tokens into your own node. But I think, and Kurt, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the number now per node of how many tokens you can accept up to 5 million, or what did we end up settling on?
Yes, so the max number per node is 5 million. So if we look at the total token economy with the 1 billion token, we have that 200, no less than 200 can drive the economy. So it is really important to have these sort of strict boundaries to make sure that we have decentralization in the network. And the thing that you can delegate your tokens to all of the nodes, but you should really think about who to delegate to, and that's what is creating this incentive to become that the network become more and more efficient, which is just generating value for all. So the more efficient network we have, the more valuable the entire network is. So this is super important to have this. And if you're sitting there with a large holding of MPC token, what your role is basically to help other nodes to become as successful as yourself. And thereby, by doing that, you incentivize the decentralization, you incentivize node operators, the more efficient ones with the large holdings, to help the networks to become as a collective, become this more efficient network. So that's a very deliberate choice that we're making here to not.
And even if you did have more than 500K tokens, you can stake up to 5 million into your own node now, right? It's not 500K.
No, 5 million, yes. Yes.
So Hysteric is the one who asked that. You can stake, if you have 2 million tokens, you could stake all of those into your own node, and you could accept another 3 million from delegated stakers, just to Make that clear.
Yeah, exactly. Up to 5 million tokens per node. So I mean, for most node operators, they can stake to their own node. There's another hand coming up here.
Tokens sold on exchanges are all unlocked. Yes. Additional question. More valuable than initially? No, it doesn't mean anything about value. Is there a ranking for runny? I don't know what runny is. Running nodes. Yeah, that's the point, is you'll get this reputation score over time as we develop the feature set. So the trust score is what we call it. So if you're running a good node and have lots of tokens, and your uptime is, let's call it 99.999%, your trust score would be very high. So that's in the roadmap. The node statistics.
Yeah, that's again, this coming back to the creation of having the right metrics to create these trust scores. And it's really about, it's really a bootstrapping, we're bootstrapping a market here, a network. So in the beginning, there is no data. When the more activity in the network, the more data we get. And which is very unique relative to all other networks. The way that we distribute the basic fees is a incentivized way where you report on your peers, which is reporting on what is happening in the P2P network, which is kind of a black box for the most part, but you know your neighborhood. So the whole idea is to incentivize that the information, to bring that up to the surface and use that to delegate staking or delegate fees. So and in doing that, we are creating a lot of insights into how the quality of the network, and we can use that to strengthen the market for trust. So there's a lot of dynamics going on here, and we'll only see the full potential of these dynamic effects as we move along and the activities comes into the network. Are there any further questions? Mean numbers need to stake. So the minimum number. So there's no minimum number.
Node statistics, yeah, I mean, those will just be added to the Explorer. It's already on the p2p.org Explorer in terms of, it shows how percentage uptime. That one has password protected. I'll ask them to open it. Looks like that's the end of the questions.
Now, can you take
a couple more?
Yeah, if you scroll down,
So
maybe you can take the last question as well.
Yeah, there's another one. How can these MPC have any value if people are bringing their own coin? So the whole economy is based on staking. So when you stake a node, you basically become part of this stream of fees, which is the BYOC fees. So that's if you don't have any MPC tokens, then you cannot get any of these fees. So that's kind of what drives this. And when you and part of the security model is for especially for bridging, is that you put in collateral when you run the bridge. So you have, let's say that you have $1 million there in collateral, then you move value across these bridges, and that sort of lock in these values. So when you know no more stakes left, then the bridge stop, and we have to start select a new set of nodes to run the next bridge. And then with that collateral, we can sort out any dispute that may have happened. But it's most likely that nothing happens, because part of this is actually that we have established a double bookkeeping system. So it becomes very transparent if there's imbalances between what is moving in and what is moving out of this bridge. But that's way beyond the question. The point is that yes, the MPC has value because it's capture the entire value that is generated in the network.
We are on time, and I see still a lot of questions, maybe revolving back to the main point. I think that it would make sense for us to also answer and post the answers in Telegram and Discord so that everybody can read the answers with the deck, and there will be obviously a recording of the meeting.
Yes, exactly. All right, and with that, I think we are at the end, and thank you very much for your participation, and see you around on the next AMA.
Thank
See
you.
everyone. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.